Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Be the Artist blog. Today, I'm joined by my guest, Toby, all the way from the States today. I'm super excited to talk to you. I've been diving into your music all day, and it's so hard to kind of define the genre that you explore because you've done funk, you've done ambient music, you've done just a variety of different genres. So I'm super excited to talk to you. For our viewers, give yourself an intro, where you're from and how long you've been doing music, and then we can crack on.
Okay, I'm Toby Kasavan. I'm originally from Los Angeles. I've been in New York for decades now, though. And what was the other thing you wanted to know? I'm sorry, I blanked out.
No, all good. How long have you been doing music for?
Oh, I've been doing music since I'm very, very young. I come from a musical family and I was a composer. I went to school as a composer and studied ethnomusicology. But I've always been, while I was doing that, I was playing piano in funk and rock bands.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, it's always been the same. I mean, I was going to college in the daytime and studying ethnomusicology and stuff, but at night I was hanging out with guys that were playing for Stevie Wonder.
Wow. Yeah.
Because it was Los Angeles, and I happened to be in a social circle where I was meeting these guys, and a couple of people kind of adopted me and took me around to some of the recording sessions. And so I was hanging out with Motown, but also dealing in the classical avant-garde and ethnomusicology. So it's hard to describe because I'm hard to describe. Musically.
Exactly.
All this was going on at once ever since I've been quite young.
Right. And then, so you say you come from a musical family. Who in your family was musical, and what sort of music did they explore?
Okay, my mother's family, I'm Jewish, and my mother's family was a klezmer family, which is Jewish folk music from Eastern Europe. My immediate generation right before me, they didn't play. But before that, it was very well known, and there's some pictures of the family orchestra in books on Jewish musical history, and I have a folder of songs composed by my great-grandfather that I've gotten a couple of people that do that kind of music, because I don't really do that kind of music.
Right.
But for the scenes where they do, there is a living scene of that, and several bands have done a couple of the compositions out of that repertoire, and so that's on my mom's family.
That's incredible. Did you ever feel like the pressure of that, like, you know, coming from a kind of legacy of music in a way?
Well, I'm kind of the only one that's carrying it on
Okay.
in terms of music. So not particularly. No,
Yeah.
I've just always been drawn to music anyway. I mean, from the time when I was 6 years old, I asked my parents to buy me a piano. and I always liked practicing. It makes me feel peaceful. You know, when you're a teenager and you're like angry about the unfairness of the world and everything else, just playing blues would really make me feel good.
Right. And a lot of your music, I would say, is obviously you do a lot of instrumental work. It is still storytelling in a way. It feels like every track is about a journey. You know, is that how you intentionally go into a project?
Not so much intentionally. I think that's just how it feels to me. I mean, that's what it's about. This piece, to bring it back to that piece, Cosmopolitan V1. I actually called it Cosmopolitan because I was going to name a series of pieces after cocktails.
Right.
But I ended up being only this one, and then so it's kind of, I guess I would say that particular kind of music. I spent several years as a pianist for modern dance, and as a pianist for modern dance, I would walk in and the teacher would just count off a tempo, and I would make up something on the spot.
Wow.
And so I did that for the school at the Alvin Ailey Company and the Martha Graham Company, a lot of famous dance companies for years. And then I never really used that kind of thing that I made up for that. And recently, I also like African music a lot. I was listening to kora music from West Africa, which is kind of these same kind of patterns. I'm doing that because that's how they play a kora. There's a strings coming in. And so I sat down and then I was listening. My wife was watching Downton Abbey, and I was listening to the piano music at Downton Abbey. And I said, this is just like that stuff I used to do, kind of. And also like a certain set of composers from the 80s, like Philip Glass and Steve Reich would be the two most famous ones. There's a bunch of other lesser known people that also have elements of that in it, like just kind of running patterns. And so I sat down and I decided I was going to write a whole bunch of them, and I wrote that one, and I've got 5 more now.
Yeah, that's it. That's incredible. I mean, you spoke a bit about, your studies as well. I know you studied at the California Institute of Arts as well, and it's been part of your education as well. How valuable do you feel like that experience was for you? Because there's artists that sometimes say you need to be naturally gifted and stuff like that, but there's also some element of educating yourself as you go on. So
yeah. Well, I've continued that, educating myself, since I went on. But well, I mean, if you don't know of something, I'm trying to think of how to say this. That's very interesting. There's a saying that poor artists copy, but great artists steal. So, but what are you stealing? You don't steal any particular melody or rhythm. You steal the outer structure, the idea. Right. Oh, there's a pattern and there's this thing against it, and you can make up your own versions of that.
Right.
So in that sense, studying other kinds of music just gives you ideas to use inside your music.
It's true. Yeah.
You could take a pattern thing like this and put it in as a background in a dance track.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, it could be all kind of thing. There's all, you lift things from one genre and you stick it in another genre. You take a song that's one way and you change the rhythm.
I feel like music is one of those things, or just life in general, right? We're constantly learning. It doesn't matter where you are in terms of life stage. We're constantly absorbing, learning, modifying. Even as a vocalist, I feel like, I need to study. Maybe it's the stealing part, but like also studying how people perform. Like, actually, I can implement how that person has utilized their stage, or I love what they've done with their set and their track list and how they've entertained audiences. So really, we are kind of stealing in that way.
And it's human. That's what being human is. My attitude is that anything that you come across musically that you relate to, that moves you or interests you or catches you, that can become part of you. And it's yours. I feel like you should just take whatever you want and manipulate it however you want. I mean, some people think that these things should be more attached to cultures, and there's like all kind of culture war stuff going on with that. Right. And I'm of the opinion that an artist in a fragmented society like we have, where everybody is being bombarded by multiple cultural influences, and nobody really grows up in a pure culture anymore. I mean, I have friends from Malian friends who are from traditional music families, and they complain about the young people. They don't play like the older guys played because they're growing up listening to YouTube videos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even I mean, and they're in Timbuktu, guys have studios where they're using samples, and so it can't go backwards. It can only go forwards.
Right.
But I feel that an artist, when they take some of the influences that are bombarding them, us, you, me, and you synthesize them in yourself into something that feels organic, that's a great service to society.
Yes. Yeah, I think it. Yeah, I mean,
I didn't mean to get so serious here, but I
I love that. I think I was also deep diving into your Facebook as well, and there was a great quote you had on there by Warren Haynes, which also is quite fitting, I think, for the conversation we've just had. And it was, when you're learning the guitar, you're learning how to play fast and play all the fancy licks and acquire the chops as a kid, and then a few years later, you get heartbroken and then learn what each note means, which I thought was very profound and kind of related to the topic that we've just been discussing. When we're constantly learning, there's constantly things that we're absorbing, but it's what makes you an artist, I guess, is how you feel when you're creating those pieces, and how, the emotion behind everything that you're creating. What does that mean for you? And when was a moment that you felt maybe, now I know what that means? Now I know what that piano piece means to me and what that makes me feel like.
Right. I don't really assign specific storylines to things. It's more like an emotional storyline. But in my process, all of those things that I'm recording are not recorded on the acoustic piano. They're recorded on electrically. And in fact, I will give them a plug. A wonderful piano sound by the Modart company called Piano Tech 7.
Okay.
And it really sounds good. And but before I record them, like a lot of people, they jump right into the MIDI recording or a digital recording. And in MIDI, it's so easy to just do 4-bar sections and just kind of do them. But I try to play everything on the piano all the way through. Because what I find is that when you play it all the way through, you end up putting a couple of extra measures here. It becomes not so symmetrical.
Right.
This little part should extend a little bit. And it becomes more organic. So that's my process. But then when I actually record, I mostly do it in the computer.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, no, I mean, it's all, like you said, it's like, there's no right or wrong way about doing things. I think it's the way you kind of.
No, I was just thinking that when you play it, my way makes me feel that it's more organic because you're giving, it breathes more.
I get that. Yeah.
Rather than feeling like, oh, the 16 bars are done, it has to go to the next section.
Right. Exactly. I mean, coming to the track Cosmopolitan, talk to us about that. Where did that track come from for you? And I know you said you have a collection of pieces that is soon to come.
That was the first one, though. That was the first.
Yes.
I just basically sat and started doing this. Then I thought, well, what could go under that or over it? It could be over it, but I went under it. And then the next time I put it up here. And so you switch it around and move it around.
Right.
And it felt emotional to me.
Yeah.
This change from. And then sounds a bit funny. I mean, it has a little bit of a freshness in it because you're going from an F, that the harmony is moving kind of a little teeny bit unusually.
Yeah.
From like an F to a B.
Right.
And then back to an E flat. Kind of like feels like you're going.
Yeah.
I feel like it's rolling down a hill or something, like a ball rolling down a series of little hills.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's a beautiful piece. I think it's really captures it feels like a story. It feels like a journey throughout the whole song. There's ebbs and flows, which really, I think are super powerful and super, everyone kind of interprets music in their own way. And for me, it was a lovely piece where you are kind of flowing in ebbs and flows of like life in general, right? Things sometimes feel hopeful and then there's a bit of a dip and then there's a spark. So I think it's a wonderful piece.
There's another aspect of it for me is my other thing other than music is I've always done martial arts. I have a 5th degree black belt in Aikido, and now I practice and teach Tai Chi. And so I wanted to do stuff that would work, very flowing kind of stuff that would feel good to do while you did Tai Chi.
Right.
That was another little motivation was part of why I started doing that kind of thing, because it felt really like it worked in that context. Yeah,
no, for sure. I can see that now that you've said that. There definitely is that kind of flow in it. I mean, you mentioned this is obviously one of many, the first of many pieces.
Right.
What is the collection about? Do they have kind of a uniform kind of flow between them, or are these new?
Well, go on. Yes, there is. I mean, they're all in this genre. In other words, I want to write a whole set of things that are in this kind of flowy thing. I took Cosmopolitan 1 and I wrote a Cosmopolitan 2, that took all the same melodies from Cosmopolitan 1, but used a different set of patterns.
Wow. Yeah.
So instead of going, I'd use this. Etc. I have that one. And then I wrote another 2 pieces with a wonderful vibraphone sound from that same company. Where wait a second, I actually have them queued up. I want to look at it for a second. Dreamscape. And I wrote a song called Dreamscape because it seems like dreamy. And then for that one, I did a Dreamscape 2. Actually, I did a separate Dreamscape 1 and then Dreamscape 2 and then a Dreamscape 2.0 where I used all the same patterns but different melodies.
Right.
So I just try, and sometimes I'll throw in I don't try to block it from throwing in a completely different part. I often think it's nice to have something you're going along in a certain way, and then you just take a left. You go up there.
Right. Yeah.
It's like a little shock.
Yeah.
Whatever how you describe what you just did with your body, it like shocks the system.
Yes.
And wakes you up.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think it's also, I think we sometimes, especially with instrumental pieces, you are kind of trapped in almost like a trance of the music. You love the sound, you're in it. But I love when something just takes a tangent and it just strikes, like you said, gets your attention. It's like, oh, okay, now it's going to somewhere which isn't predictable and, it's completely left field sometimes. So, yeah, I think that's really, really interesting. I love also the fact that it's like clever music because you're taking the same melodies and changing them up or using the same sequences and changing them. So was that a kind of conscious choice for you or?
Yes, it is. Although in my own personal musical value system, I don't necessarily value cleverness that much.
Okay.
But I can't help putting in little things that echo each other, or that they're not the same, but they kind of rhyme.
Right.
I mean? It's that's what I enjoy that a lot. You're very perceptive to pick that up.
No, thank you. So what's the plan? What's the what's the aspiration for your music? Maybe in 5 years, where do you see your music?
Right. I really want to promote this particular genre. For film and audiovisual things. I mean, that's my plan. Yes,
it would be perfect for that. I think it's exactly, obviously I heard the Dreamscape as well, the Dreamscape one as well. I was that was running.
I'll give you a taste of it if you want.
Yes, please.
Right now?
Let's go for it.
Okay. You got to tell me if you can hear it. I think you should be able to hear it if we hear it here. So this is the Dreamscape 2.1, where I took the same patterns but put different melodies. You've never heard Dreamscape, the other one, so that doesn't matter. But here we go. You can hear it?
Yes.
Something about this sound that makes me feel dreamy. We'll just listen to a minute or a minute and a half or something. This is where I took a left.
it's a wonderful piece. I think, exactly, like even listening to that, I could see this being like in an animation, or just a background piece to a storyline in any kind of visual art, or something. I think it's amazing. And I love how you're able to kind of shift the sound to create a different side of a story, for the
Right, right.
music. And I love the left pieces because you're not expecting it. And sometimes with music, I think in this day and age, as a pop artist as well, I think I'm guilty of this as well, is we do things that are repetitive because we think it's catchy, which it is. It sticks to your head, it sticks to your brain, you're going to remember the song. But pieces like this, it's less predictable, and I love that. It just takes you unexpectedly. So yeah, it sounds wonderful, and I think you're doing an amazing job in creating these pieces. Again, so I know your plan is to put this into movies or film, or just in visual arts. Do you yourself see yourself doing something different sonically in the future? Do you feel maybe, I don't know if you sing also, maybe you'll add some vocals to it?
I don't sing, no.
No.
I do write, I write songs too. I write lyrics, and I wanted to do first of all, during COVID here, I've been locked down, and so I haven't been getting together with any singers.
Right.
Or anything like that. So that kind of prompted me toward doing a bunch of instrumental things that I could do at home by myself.
Right.
I love vocals. I wish I sang better. I sing enough to teach it to singers, to teach things to singers, but I get over on telling the story, and I don't really hit the notes, I will confess. But I do like lyrics, and I wanted to do some more stuff with lyrics. But for this, I think that when it's instrumental, it becomes much easier to use in generic contexts.
Yeah.
Because it would, like you said, this could be somebody driving down the street. This could be somebody walking through the forest. This could be, coming home and opening their door.
Yeah. It leaves it even wider, like it opens it to interpretation, because I think you don't, when you have lyrics, if it's a love song, yes, you can see different elements of love, but you're kind of limited to where the story is going.
Or it becomes specific. It becomes an actual story that fits only something that would have that story. Right.
No, I think it's a wonderful. I've been listening to a lot of the music you have up on SoundCloud, and it's amazing. I don't think it needs to have lyrics, but it's interesting to see. You've been in the music game for a long time now. It's been part of your life for a long time. So I'm intrigued to know whether this is a space you're really comfortable with, or you see yourself really diving into new spaces.
It is a space I'm really comfortable with, and I have been through a lot of different spaces. I'm an older guy. I played keyboard for Wilson Pickett for a while. I did Latin jazz for a couple of years. I've done a lot of I did this funk album with an artist named Menace, where we were produced by a guy named Bill Laswell, and with Bootsy Collins and a bunch of the people from P-Funk on that album. So I've been in a lot of different genres, but I feel like, and there's a lot of things that feel natural to me. Right. But this really feels natural.
Yeah.
If you listen to some of the other things on SoundCloud, you may have heard some of the stuff that was more orchestrated. Did you hear any of that?
Yes.
So you're noticing that you see some of the funk, you see some of the ethnomusicology influence,
right?
African and Indonesian music.
Yeah. And I'm going to recommend, obviously, I'll put all the details in the description if anyone is watching back in this video. It was so refreshing to hear. You've done some Afro-Latin music, you've done some funk, you've done some soundscape stuff. It's incredible. Like it's a very versatile kind of discography that you have, but you do this as well really, really well. And I can definitely see that this is you.
I have to say that for me, these things that seem like different things
are not so
they're
different.
Not so different for me.
Yes.
Because they're like, I set up a pattern and then I play over it. Okay, that pattern could be this one that we just did. But it could also be or some, you know, but to me, it's not so different. I'm doing this rhythm in the left hand. I'm putting this in the spaces. The end result is in a different world, but the process for me, when it's only keyboard, it's all the same. It's like very organic.
Yeah. No,
that might be why I'm doing solo keyboard pieces now, because then there's no question about it.
Right. So what can we expect next? If anyone is watching back, where can we find you? I know you are on SoundCloud. Are there other platforms?
On SoundCloud, and this tune is now on Spotify. I'm working on. I've been negligent about getting involved with the whole digital world, and so now I'm trying to rectify that. I need to claim my artist page on Spotify, which they're making a little bit difficult. Because they're not they don't work with SoundCloud as a special provider, so they make it a little bit harder.
Yes.
I want to get into the whole world of that and just get my stuff out. And I'm going to continue to pursue both the solo keyboard pattern pieces, for want of a better term, and the more orchestrated stuff that too.
Yeah.
One of the pieces you may have heard in the when you were listening, there's one called 3 Blessings that's up on SoundCloud.
Yes.
And that one I wrote because a friend of mine is a percussionist who played with Salif Keita, the Malian singer. Mm-hmm. And he's married to a griot from a very famous griot family. And they had triplets about a year and a half ago, right at the start of COVID. So I wrote this song called 3 Blessings.
Right.
And she's going to put words to that.
Yes.
I hope. I mean, she says she is.
Amazing.
So that would be a really wonderful cross-cultural kind of.
Yeah. I mean, have you, you mentioned obviously the Spotify, like the music industry has changed. I mean, I'm sure you know better than I do.
There's a whole new music industry now.
Right. I mean, it's, and taking an artist today and taking them back to even 5 years ago and taking an artist from then now, it would be a challenge because it's just a different ball game. Have you felt that, have you felt the pressure of trying to keep up? Because even as an artist, I'm a social media manager, and I still as an artist struggle with trying to be relevant, try and put things out, trying to do all the social stuff.
I'm pretty incompetent at all the social media stuff, but I'm hoping to at least get mildly competent at it. That's why I'm very happy that Muso Soup sent it to you and to other people. No, for me, it's more like it's opened a door. I haven't for the last number of years, I haven't quite known where to turn. I'm glad that there's a whole new music business now, because the in between the old music business and the new music business, I didn't really see much place for me.
Right.
But now with this, and you can put out stuff and people can hear it. If they can't like it if they don't hear it.
Right.
Exactly. And I find people much more open. I mean, I don't know about everybody, but a lot of people are much more open, because even as they're growing up, people are finding all their own music on the internet. They're not just hearing it from their friends or family, or from radio or something. They're discovering it all left and right.
Yeah. It's exciting. I think it's such a big industry now. You can find somebody who enjoys your music, no matter what type of musician you are, how niche and how maybe even you might think like nobody gets this. There is definitely someone out there that's gonna, find it intriguing.
I also, I haven't mentioned it, but I've also, it is, a lot of that stuff is up on Spotify. I've done a lot of free jazz, like avant-garde jazz, playing with real improvisers. I don't know if you know, that's people that played with Cecil Taylor or different kind of groups like that.
Yeah.
The really avant-garde stuff that very few people like.
Right.
But through the internet, through this, there's a few people in every city in the world who like that stuff, and that altogether it makes it just what you were saying before.
Yeah. It's amazing. I think it's an exciting time for music. I think no matter how maybe modern music might feel completely different to where it was even a year or 2 years ago, it's exciting. It's overload of music, maybe, perhaps.
I think that's very true, because we're at a point where anybody who's somewhat talented and fairly intelligent can turn out really slick material.
Yes.
Very easily.
Yeah.
So we're bombarded with a plethora of well-produced. Some of it's inspired, and some of it's not so inspired.
Yeah. But I am glad I have come across your music, Toby. It's been fantastic talking to you, fantastic connecting with you. Any final messages to anyone watching? Any shout outs to people who have helped you through this journey?
Oh, that's interesting. I'll give a shout out to a drummer producer friend of mine named Joe Blocker, who's been very supportive. My wife Anna, of course, I have to say that. My kids, who are very supportive. The shout out is just be open and be free.
Yes.
And don't quit, and go with your ideas. You got to use it's something I say all the time. You got to use the ideas you have, because you don't have any other ideas. So be proud of your ideas and stick them out there. And if other people don't like them, find other people. Somebody will like what you just said. Somebody will like it.
Yeah. I think that's a wonderful way to think, and it's a wonderful way to end this. Honestly, if anyone is watching, I'm going to have all the links in the description below. It's fantastic. It's like it transports you to another place, and I think instrumental pieces are so underrated, and Toby does it to perfection. So thank you, Toby. I might put you on the spot, but obviously the piano's there. You've given us a few tunes here and there. Would you like to close us out with any piece that's on your mind? If that's not too much putting you on the spot.
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. Hey, thank you so much, Toby. It's been a pleasure to connect.
But for the audience, for the audience, listen to the tracks, because they're nothing like that.
No, they're not. They're not, actually. No, thank you so much, Toby. It's wonderful to connect with you. I'm very, very grateful you took the time to support the blog, but also you've got a new fan here. So I'm definitely going to be listening to the music all the way through.
Thank you so much for having me on, and for all the kind words. And until the next time.
Yes. Take care, man. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.